Hi, this is Frody, and today we will explore 3 key ideas from A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. A New Earth. Subtitle: Create a Better Life. Eckhart Tolle is a spiritual teacher who is not connected to any particular religion or tradition. And his one simple but profound message in his teachings is that there is a way out of suffering and into peace. And in this book, he walks us through how we can create a happier, more peaceful, and spiritually evolved place to live on this earth. And I've already read Eckhart's The Power of Now and featured it here on YouTube by last week. And really loved both books, and think that if you're into spirituality, consciousness, becoming more conscious of your unconscious behaviors, how they are holding you back, then I think it's a really good book to have in your bookshelf or on your electronic tablet or whatever you might have. So today there are 3 things I'd like to talk to you about. The first thing is, what is the new earth? Secondly, why should we care about creating it? And thirdly, how do we go about creating it? So, the first one. What is the new earth? The new earth is a place where all people are constantly becoming more and more conscious of what they were previously unconscious. The behavior patterns and emotional reactions and the way they think that is holding them back from achieving fulfillment and peace and happiness in their lives. And all of those things are conditioned from the past, of our childhood, that we don't even remember much of, and from our relationships with people, friendships, from our families, from culture, everything. All of these things have been conditioning us to act, feel, and think in certain ways. And as they are now unconscious and are holding us back from really realizing our potential, then we need to become conscious of those things. And it's really about raising the consciousness, evolving the consciousness of the world. And you might have heard about the religions which say that after death, if you are a good person in this life, then after you die, you can come to heaven. But the idea of the new earth is that we can create heaven on earth right now. I mean, right now, as you are listening to this video. And that's done through always being aware of how your ego manifests through your behaviors, your thinking and your feeling, and through remaining present. And I'll talk more about the ego in the third big idea, how we go about creating the new earth. So, the new earth is heaven on earth, where people are becoming conscious of their patterns which were before unconscious. And it's a bit vague in these terms, so if you want more to fill it out more, then I recommend that you read the book yourself. And let's go to the second big idea, which is, why should we care about creating this new earth for ourselves? And the one word that comes to mind is peace. Because what is peace actually? Well, I see it as this imperturbable equanimity that you have regardless of what is happening. If you try to do something and you do not succeed at it, if someone says something that you don't like or do something that you would rather have them not do, then you are not affected as strongly as most others are, who are not as peaceful. And if you really think about it, if you have an absolute sense of peace and contentment with this moment as it is right now, not being too worried about what happens outside of you in any way, then how can there really be wars, exterminations, or racism in the world? If things like greed and fear and desire for power are just not there, since we are so content with life as it is. And I can give you a personal example of peace, actually. One year ago, during the summer, I was at a Vipassana meditation retreat, which is 10 days of meditation, 10 hours every day. It's much like a consciousness boot camp. And the Vipassana technique has been created by the Buddha, who used it to become enlightened himself, if I have learned correctly. And one really big element of Vipassana meditation is to cultivate your equanimity, which means that you can feel pain, but you focus only on the immediate physical pain and dive into it, instead of magnifying it in your mind and imagining all of the horrible scenarios that might occur. If you, for example, lose your arm and you immediately start worrying about bleeding out. Of course you take decisive action, but you don't start worrying too much, which will cloud everything you do. So the personal example is that when we have these meditation retreats, we sit for about 1 hour in a stretch. It's called strong determination sitting. And as you might know, if you have been trying to sit cross-legged or on your knees or in any way for 1 hour straight, that becomes really painful because it feels like your kneecaps are going to blow off, or your back is going to break, or your hips is going to dislocate or something. And as I'm sitting there, after about 50 or 55 minutes, I can feel searing pain inside my lower back. And but then I remember the idea of equanimity, or really feeling into the pain without trying to magnifying it in my mind. And I eventually start to just easing into the pain and actually start enjoying it until it dissolves. It just disappears somehow, magically. So that's a small example of how it is possible to be peaceful even though you're feeling pain, without turning that pain into mental suffering. So the reason why we need to create the new earth is to create more peace on the global level, as greed, fear, and desire for power are not as pervasive as they now are, and on the individual level, for you and me, so we can have peace as a strong foundation upon which to build happiness, and joy, and contentment with our lives. And you can read the book for more on that. The third big idea is, how do we create this new earth? There are two main components that I'm aware of. That's one, to cultivate your present moment awareness of being in the now, of not always getting lost in the future by thinking, or in the past by thinking, but rooting yourself in the present by constantly feeling your body, the aliveness of your body, or the sensations of your breath. You can see the review I made on the power of now for more on that. And the second component to creating the new earth, to raising the consciousness, global consciousness, is to become conscious of your egoic behaviors. And this is not moralizing or something, it's just a fact that we all have all these unconscious patterns of thinking about the past and the future, like our memories and our dreams, or feeling about what happens in right now, or getting emotional reactions based on what we are imagining. And all of these things are really indications that we are identifying ourselves with the thoughts and feelings. We think that those things are us, even though they are constantly changing, and our sense of self, our awareness, is constant. So the cool thing is that every time you observe an egoic behavior act out through you, you start to dissolve the ego, and you become more free to spontaneously act in the world, and you don't get as attached to the things that happen. So, to make this more grounded, I'm going to read through a small list that Eckhart has in the book of how the ego acts through us. So you can start familiarizing yourself with it and start observing it. And it's really crucial that you don't beat yourself up for any of these things. And when you see these behaviors come through you, you just observe them as they are and trust that they will start dissolving once you become aware of them. Because the thing is that we aren't often aware of these things, but when we are, then it's possible for change. So, let's begin. Here are some ways in which people unconsciously try to emphasize their form identity. If you are alert enough, you may be able to detect some of these unconscious patterns within yourself. Demanding recognition for something you did and getting angry or upset if you don't get it. Trying to get attention by talking about your problems, the story of your illnesses, or making a scene. Giving your opinion when nobody has asked for it and it makes no difference to the situation. Being more concerned with how the other person sees you than with the other person, which is to say, using other people for egoic reflection or as ego enhancers. Trying to make an impression on others through possessions, knowledge, good looks, status, physical strength, and so on. Bringing about temporary ego inflation through angry reaction against something or someone. Taking things personally, feeling offended. Making yourself right and others wrong through futile mental or verbal complaining. Wanting to be seen or to appear important. So those are just some of the mysterious ways the ego manifests through you. Did you see anything familiar? Something that you might perhaps have done today or yesterday? I can at least see myself in a lot of these behaviors. And the thing is to just observe the ego acting through you, knowing that what was unconscious is now becoming conscious, which means that the ego is starting to dissolve and your consciousness is starting to rise. And thereby you enable the consciousness of the entire world to rise. Much like how if you put some coal pieces besides burning coal, both coal pieces will start to burn. Just like if you put an unconscious person with a conscious person, if the conscious person is strong enough, then the unconscious person might start getting more conscious. So that's just a small metaphor. But those are the three key ideas. So very practically, observe the egoic patterns and remain present at all times by feeling into the aliveness of your body. Just feel your body. So let's have a quick recap before we wrap this video up. First idea was, what is the new earth? That is heaven on earth, by having people raise their consciousness of what they were before unconscious, which was driving their behavior, thinking and feeling. Secondly, why should we care? And that should create peace on a global and a personal level. The peace on the personal level happens first, and then it comes to the global level, as peaceful individuals stop having fear, greed, and a desire for power and start creating all of these wars and exterminations and racism. And thirdly, why? How can we create this new earth? And that was simply to remain present at all times. It's simple, but it's not easy, since you have to remind yourself of it all the time, or when you do remember it, to jump into your body and be here in the present, not get lost in your mind, future and past thinking. And the other component was to observe your egoic behaviors come through with complete just curiosity or detachment, watching these behaviors as they come through. Without judging them, you simply surrender to them and practice non-resistance, since whatever you resist persists, as Eckhart likes to say. Right, that was a quick look at A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. I hope you liked it, and if you did, I think you'll love the book. Now, what's the one insight or the one action that you're going to take as a result of watching this video and hearing about these ideas? I'd love to hear about it in the comment section, so please comment it below and I'll follow up with you there. Please like this video, share it with some friends who might also benefit from the ideas, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't, so you can remain up to date on key ideas for realizing your ultimate human potential within fields like mastering skills, happiness, relationships, health, and peak performance, consciousness, spirituality, at all these exciting topics about how we can become better, happier, and more conscious humans in this world. Unless you're an alien, of course. But thank you very much for watching, and I wish you an awesome day.